The Syspro E.NET Diagnostics and Test Harness provides us with an application that will allow us to test our interaction with the Syspro business objects. First thing that we need to do within the test harness is to log on to Syspro, and this is where we can set the base address of the service and the type of binding that we're going to be using. And then we've got the logon credentials. So we'll specify the username, the password, the company that we want to test the business object usage on, and any company password that's there. We can also access multiple instances of Syspro if there's multiple instances of Syspro sitting on that server. So then we go in and we log on. And then up here we can select the type of business object that we want to access, and the method that we're accessing in there. So if we look at say setup, we can look and see whether we want to add a new item, update one, or delete. And then on the transaction side of things, we can see whether we're actually building a transaction or we want to post a specific transaction. In this instance, I'm just going to use query, and here we've got a button which will allow us to actually access the business object library. So rather than having to work out what the name of the business object is, we can click on that button, and then we've then got a selection criteria in here, and if I do something like ARSQRY, which is our customer query, when we select that will then insert some sample XML into the input. So we can see here that we've got a sample. I'm just going to change the customer that I want to return, and it gives us some of the sample XML fields that we can set. And under the parameters, if there's any parameters, then that would get shown in here. We'd be able to manipulate that. What we can then do is then, if we click on the run button, that will then invoke the business object, and in the output tab we will then see the results of that call, and that's what we would then be able to work out what fields that we actually want to handle. So if I do something a bit different now, so if I choose a transactional business object, so this time I'm going to do SORTDN, which is our dispatch business object. So I shall select that. That obviously inserts our sample XML into our business object input, and we can see here the structure of that XML. One of the functions that we've got in here, so if we're building that manually, or if we were taking the XML from another application that we're trying to build and posting it in here, then we can actually validate the schema, make sure that the XML is valid. And if we look at the parameters this time, we can see that the sample parameters are in here, and we can come in and we can change that. So here I will say no to ignoring warnings. I did that a little bit wrong, so if I just take that there, and that's now going to change the way that the business object processes. So if we now run this one now, because I haven't got data within my system, so it's picked up an error, and this time it tells us that doesn't exist. And that's the way that we would use the test harness to test our XML that we're generating, our interaction with the various business objects. The other thing that we can also see from in here, so we've posted our sample XML. We can come in and we can manipulate it and prove what it's doing, and also within the parameters and the majority, all of the transaction parameter business objects, we can specify that we want to validate it only. So you can then prove that what you're actually going to attempt to post is actually going to work. and that will call the business object and do all its business logic checking. But what we can do, what we've got options up here for, is to actually get a sample snippet of how to build that XML in C# or in VB.NET or in VB script, if we're then going to post it into the application designer or application builder, or even scripting it off of just standard customization within Syspro. Then it gives us the code to actually build that, and then we could then insert the data. And then once you're finished within here and you're happy to proceed, then you can log off at this point.